Hello, everyone. This is an Arsenal Ramble, a little midweek discussion where I'm able to get Arsenal-related thoughts and news off my head and out into the digital world. And probably a lot of you are having the similar thoughts. So at the moment, so kind of interesting to just talk about what is going on with Arsenal at the moment and get it out there into the internet and the discussion area. I think my immediate reaction, and this is where I want to start, after the Aston Villa game, if anyone watched the instant reaction, I record it as soon as the full-time whistle is. So it's a raw response to what we've just seen. And after the Aston Villa game, it was of real disappointment. I talked in that game, and I talked in that video about how I felt like we had to treat this almost like a cup final. We had to treat that game like a cup final to go 9 points clear when we'd drop points against Liverpool, against a very weakened Liverpool, straight after Manchester City had dropped points. It felt like a real missed opportunity then, and to do it again against Nottingham Forest, 16th, it felt at the time like a big miss again, and that there might be a defect in the Arsenal squad in our ability to make the most of big moments, because that's the pressure is on in those moments. You can put an extra finger on the trophy if you beat a team after your title challengers have your title challenger competitors have managed to completely muck it up. But I think as the dust has settled a bit, my feelings are that was a Nottingham Forest team. Although they are 16th, Sean Dyche has actually done pretty well there. I think since Sean Dyche has come in to manage Forest, they probably would be a mid-table side at the moment with the amount they've produced. I mean, obviously they're 16th with all sorts going on behind the scenes. Edu dropping clanger after clanger with transfers. Zinchenko, the latest clanger, who looks like he's set to join Ajax, I think, on loan. That has been a failure. Obviously, Ange being sacked. So they are in a bit of disarray. I mean, Ange losing 5 in a row, I think it was. So that's why they're 16th. It's not necessarily their position. We have to remember where they were last season. And they were fighting for 4th until the last 3 weeks. 3 game weeks. So this is a proper side that we played, and this is also the first time they had their full 4 centre backs. 4 defenders back together for the first time, I think, this season actually. So, that's not an easy side to play. So to drop a point but end up extending the lead at the top on Aston Villa and Manchester City, given that context, it's slightly easier to swallow. Would I like to see Arsenal have taken those 3 points? Absolutely. And I think if it happens again, we've got to be serious about what's going on, because the next week, Manchester United were playing, who are at the best form they've been in all season. This is the worst time to play Manchester United, probably this season. Probably the energy there is huge. All the pundits are coming out and saying all sorts about Man United next week. So, that's going to be difficult. But what would I say about the Villa game? The Forest game. When I look back, I would have loved to have seen Eze start that. I think it would have been a necessary risk to play him. I know Arteta's been a bit risk averse with playing him since that Aston Villa clanger where he let Matikash in at the back post and didn't follow him. And since then, Arteta's been very careful to play him. He's played, I think the only game he's really had some significant minutes was Portsmouth away. So, that's a game I would have loved. I think Ødegaard, you know what you're going to get. Stability and organisation. Occasionally, he's able to deal a huge kind of significant impact on a game. Like the goal against Brighton, the long-distance goal from Brighton. We don't see it as much as I'd like to, but his ability to play the ball through in those in low block situations through those fine margins into Saka or Trossard, and they'll be able to finish. But we're not seeing that an awful lot. But of course, Arteta has made him club captain. He is he's a very experienced player. He's very organised off the ball, and that is why Arteta continues to play him. But it just felt like the Nottingham Forest game would have been really interesting to see Eze just dropped in. Of course, extremely unlikely, but we saw that Eze-Gyökeres partnership at St James's Park. First time we've won there, I think possibly under Arteta, or at least for 3-4 years, we've not won at St James's Park. That was the combination that we had up there, Eze and Gyökeres, close together. And I really thought that was good because it felt very dangerous. It felt dangerous. Odegaard drops back a lot. Eze likes to stay in those final third areas. And felt possibly like that would have been one of the I would just love to have seen that. Start with Eze, something different. In the same way that he was willing to start Madueke on the right, with Saka being off. But I think Eze is, and we saw that last season with Palace, he's a big game player. This guy has got something in. He's got a gene that I don't think other players possibly have in our side. In these big high pressure moments, finals, FA Cup final, Community Shield, in the Community Shield, that he is able to kind of trigger something. And against Tottenham, I mean, that's a high pressure game against Tottenham. There's a lot of pressure on him. If he has a flop against Spurs when he could have, but he doesn't, he scores a hat trick. I think he's got something in him where he really turns on for these big games. And when you have a chance to go 3 points, extend the lead at the top, that's a big high pressure game. That's where I think Eze would have come into his own pretty nicely. But of course we didn't see it. But I hope that Mikel Arteta will consider. Maybe he's going to be an end of season. He's going to come and play a bit more towards the end of the season as things ramp up a bit. As I want to see, it's been I think not since Aubameyang have we had a player grip the side and able to score an awful lot of goals. It's a very spread out amount of goals. I think Gyökeres is our top scorer right now. So I would love to see a player like Eze just get a lot more minutes. I know what Odegaard offers us, and against Brighton and against Aston Villa at home, Odegaard was phenomenal. I mean, the breaking up the play and the ball through for Zubimendi for his goal was absolutely fantastic. But it doesn't come an awful lot. I would take the risk with Eze in these higher pressured games. I would love to see it. I really would. But anyway, we move on. That's 7 points clear with Man United at the weekend. Beat Man United. I think everyone's feeling a lot better, especially but there is certainly a bit of fear. I think I think we don't really know what Carrick is going to bring. We've seen false dawns at Man United before, but it does feel a little bit like there's an identity back in Man United with an ex-Fergie player who's won the Champions League, who's won everything with Man United. There's something that sort of feels like it clicks, and the choices that Carrick made to start in that 11 against City were risky, but absolutely the right ones. Dorgu as a left winger, Diallo right back in the squad, and Burmo over Sesko's been hit a bit of form. So he's made some really big decisions and got them bang on. So have Man United finally found their manager based on those decisions? It's quite interesting. That's, they're huge changes to what Amorim had done. So let's see. But I do, of course, fancy us. I think defensively and organisation-wise, City will all over the place, and that's one thing we're very good at. Defensively, City looks so abject. I mean, chopping and changing the defenders all season. I feel like maybe they just aren't able to kind of learn to work with each other so well. At Arsenal, you kind of know exactly who's going to be playing at the back four every week in, week out, and they have those connections that only playing with each other week in, week out, and now probably 3 years. Gabriel Saliba have been playing together for 3 years at the highest level. So their communication and organisation together is by none. A little bit on Inter Milan. So we play Inter Milan tomorrow, 8 o'clock. I love San Siro nights in the Champions League. Does anything beat that? Not really. San Siro, a load of good memories, obviously. Um, and such a historical place. It's so fun, such a good Champions League night. But it's funny that Serie A and Inter Milan and AC Milan sides have dropped off in recent years. I know they got into the final of the Champions League last year, but I think if we were on the other side of the draw, we would have got there, to be honest. And they were thumped by PSG in the final. They're top of the Serie A this season. Top of Serie A. I think by 3 points on AC Milan. AC Milan a bit more competitive this season. Lautaro Martinez, as always, is top scorer, performing well. I think they made a few additions in the summer, maybe 5 or 6, but no notable players. And I think at this point last season they were more running away with Serie A. So I don't really know what their level is at, but I do know that we have a good history against Italian sides, and I hope, considering we are 3 points clear at the moment of the Champions League, with the better goal difference by about 5 or 6 over Bayern Munich, with 1 game to go in the after Inter Milan in the Champions League group stages, we will consider rotating quite a bit, as it's our fourth away game in a row, and we saw what tired legs have done to City. I hope Arteta does rotate a lot here. I'd like to see, I think definitely Eze's got to start here. Perfect for Eze. I really, really want to see him have some minutes, really, and get back playing, because he's a really interesting player, and actually sort of talent that kind of excites the fans a bit, and is a bit of an unpredictable and a bit of a Wenger type player, and I love those kind of players. Very technical and exciting, but of course not Arteta's favourite, because off the ball he's not ideal. But yeah, I would love to see him play more and get some minutes tomorrow, and hopefully start. I think he will start. I've got to say, I think he will start. Striker position, Gyökeres. I would like to see Gyökeres. You know, the thing is on Gyökeres, and I go back to Nottingham Forest, I think it's the first time this season, apart from in pre-season, where we've seen Gyökeres run into space in behind. There was one moment where he gambled on a ball that Murillo missed, and Gyökeres was basically in on goal. He wasn't really in on goal. I think people probably expect more from him there, but I think he did well to even get the shot off. It's rare for people to see that sort of opportunity, and I'm glad that's the first time we've seen Gyökeres really run and Murillo did well to get back. But against Inter Milan, where they're a slower side, they are physical, but there is more. So it feels like there's more space. I would like Gyökeres to play. It just depends on whether Arteta will be starting him again, because he seems to be backing him in the Premier League at the moment, Gyökeres, at the weekend. If Gyökeres starts tomorrow, I don't think we'll see Gyökeres starting against United. I've got a slight feeling that maybe Arteta goes for Kai Havertz tomorrow. Kai Havertz against... Yeah, it feels maybe like the right game for Kai Havertz to start. Gabby Jesus got the start against Portsmouth, so maybe it could be Gabby again, Jesus again. You know, I've not been massively thrilled by Jesus. I think you immediately can compare him to what we have at the moment with Gyökeres, and I think Gyökeres is more dangerous. I do feel he's more dangerous. I prefer Jesus as a technical player, and he's in my 5-a-sides team over Gyökeres. Gabby Jesus will definitely be my 5-a-side side, but I think there's not been a massive drop off between the two. I think they've both been as effective as each other, and I prefer the type of effectiveness that Gyökeres is right now. I don't want to see my striker dropping right back. I want to see my striker staying up and waiting for opportunities. And I think the more Gyökeres gets used to the side, it will come. I know, like, people call him a donkey. Yeah, he's got aspects of looking like a bit of a donkey sometimes. But and we've not seen it. Honestly, we've not seen it enough of it. But the way he strikes a ball, you can just see it in the way he takes penalties. That he is a good player. He's a good footballer. the way he just can hit that ball, and we've just got to hope that he can get some more space and time and get more opportunities. I don't really think he's had much of a chance, many chances. I mean, there was that one absolute awful effort against Brighton, where he could have lobbed the keeper. That was poor. But I mean, we see it from Martinelli missing 4-yard open goal the other day against Forest. It happens, and he's under even more pressure than anyone else in that side. So I would hope that Gyökeres gets some support from some people, at least a couple more games. If Arteta wants to back him, I would back him at this point. I would back him. Because I think he's got a quality that none of our other strikers have, and that's the ability to really hit a ball. And he just needs to get into those. He just needs to get a bit luckier with opportunities, in my opinion. I don't think there's an awful lot more he can do. Arsenal strikers over the last 4 years have been under this newer Arteta tactical strategy, of the way we play. They don't get opportunities, and our attack in general is pretty blunt. It's pretty blunt at the moment. So I think it's unfair to pass judgment on calling Gyökeres the worst player that ever played for Arsenal, which I've seen quite a lot at the moment. So those are really the major things. There will be and the back four as well. I would like to see. I mean, Gabriel's played the most minutes so far. He also played against Portsmouth. Saliba had a rest against Portsmouth. So I don't know who can come in. I mean, can Norgard play on that left centre-back position? I can't see why not, to be honest. And maybe Saliba. But I do hear that Saliba's also been having a knock. So Norgard will come in, I'm sure, as one of those centre-backs. Even though that's a test for Norgard. That is a test for Norgard. That would be his biggest test in that position. But Arteta's gone with him a couple times now. Lewis Skelly, I think, has to have a run. Although Arteta's definitely lost some trust in him, confidence in him, given the fact that we are 3 points clear with a better goal difference with 1 game remaining. If we lose this and win against Kuwait, I don't know how you pronounce it, Kuwait, then we win. We finish top of our Champions League group. So I think you've got to rotate with Man United and then Chelsea next week, and the fact that there's going to be very some tired legs out there. There's 10 days of travelling to 4 different games. I mean, it's a lot. So there's got to be some changes. Marino, I'm sure, will come in either for Rice. Yeah, I think for Rice, and Eze will come in as well. Will Madueke? I mean, Saka had a bit of a rest the other day. Will Madueke come in again? I expect possibly. I mean, that's a lot of changes. Maybe, I don't know if I'd be interested. Chelsea makes that many changes. I don't think he will make this many changes. I would like to see this many changes. I don't think there's any point risking. And Arteta's been, I think, guilty of this before, playing players longer than they need to be played, and subsequent possible injury contributing to injuries. I don't know. I mean, Saka played how many games last season and ended up with a hamstring injury. So let's hope there is some changes. Some players get rested. Will Kepa come back in? I think Raya looked very rusty against Forest. So maybe we need to keep our goalkeeper, keep our goalkeeper in position, not to develop any rust around the joints or wherever. But yeah, that's my feelings ahead of a game against Inter Milan. I will be doing a watch along of the game. I will also be doing my full-time immediate reaction, and there will be another Arsenal Ramble chat like this next week. Thank you so much. Cheers. Quadruple is still on.